We have a special guest with us. He's a candidate running for Congress in California's 25th district. Can you believe it? It's Cenk Uygur. Hey, Cenk Uygur, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Jimmy Dore?
I'm great. It's good to see you. And so not really much happening, huh?
Oh, it's just a very calm race. Nobody's paying attention.
Nobody even cares about this race.
Backwater race here. Has it gotten some attention? Has it? Okay.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Now, we all saw the headlines, so let's get through that first, right? So it's very easy, again, for me to always have a soft spot for whoever the establishment is against the most. I have a soft spot for. So it was easy in 2016. It was Bernie,
Yep.
right? And for me this time, it's Tulsi, right? So they're going after, and if she drops out, it would become Bernie again. And you are definitely not the choice of the Democratic Party.
To say the least. Has anyone ever had a bigger understatement than to say that I am not the choice of the Democratic Party elite? No,
Right.
I am not.
No, not at all. So in fact, here is the L.A. County Democratic Party says Cenk Uygur does not belong in Congress.
Well, look, man, I was those folks were a little devastated to find out that they're not the ones who get to decide.
Yeah.
Somebody told them afterwards, it turns out there's this thing called a vote. And in our society, there's a thing called democracy. And they're like, no way. What do you mean? We already disqualified them. That's not how it works. By the way, when I win, I can't wait to disqualify them.
So now, Cenk, you and I have had major differences on tactics, but we share the same policy goals, right?
Yep.
So
Totally right. Yep.
We'll get into that a little bit, but I just want to go. This is what the Democratic Party is saying about you here, which is fun for me because it's fun to be against the establishment. So,
okay, Jimmy, can I say one more thing about that?
Yeah.
So, look, for those of you who don't know, I think almost everybody knows by now because, as you pointed out, there's been so many headlines. So I'm running in California's 25th district. It's me versus the most establishment candidate you've ever seen. We'll probably talk about that more later. I mean, it's 2016 Hillary Clinton versus Bernie 2.0. I mean, I'm the most progressive candidate. The establishment despises me. Dianne Feinstein was so quick to, and Nancy Pelosi were like, not him, the other person in the race. Okay. And they keep bragging about how they handpicked her. Gee, what does that remind you of? I've seen this movie before, except this movie has a different ending because I'm going to win. Jank2020.com. Okay. Because every time these sons of bitches attack me, you guys give whatever you can. $1, $5, $10, $27 if you can. That would be amazing. She's at a Beverly Hills fundraiser right now. Okay. And so that's who they are. That's who they are in their core. And so this time when they all attacked me at the same time, we raised a ton of money.
Oh, really?
And when we did, they were like, oh. I'm
so
like, because all they care about is money. All they care about is money. So they're like, wait, should we attack him again? I thought being super unfair to him was going to work. But now it's backfired.
Really? That's
yes.
great.
So what are you going to do now? Okay.
So that's great. That is great, right? So that's them trying to end your campaign, and they actually gave it a little shot in the arm as far as fundraising goes, and that is the metrics they use.
Yeah. So later we'll talk about what the media did. I mean, it was.
Well, let me get into this right here.
Yeah, that's.
So I just want to show people what the Democratic Party say. They go, Cenk Uygur's comments are both heartless and disqualifying for someone who wants to serve in this people's U.S. House of Representatives. Now, what they're referring to, we've been over this a million times, but let's just go over it because you're here. So it was these blogs that you had written back when you were trying to be Howard Stern, when you were 20 years ago, and then a few years after you wrote them, you took them down without anybody asking you or being in trouble, or you had evolved as a person, which is what I've always told people is the attractive thing about your story, that you had an evolution. You were a right-winger, pro-Iraq war, and now you're a progressive pushing Medicare for all. And so...
Yeah, so just let me clarify one quick thing, though. I was for the first Gulf War.
Not the second one.
The second one was 100%, billion% against it.
Right.
In fact, Young Turks was one of the only shows nationally that was against it.
Right.
But you're totally right about my evolution. Back then in the Gulf War, the first Gulf War, I did a pro-war rally on a college campus. That's the kind of knucklehead I was.
I know.
Right? So, by the way, that's also helps me flip a lot of conservatives and a lot of Republicans because I say, look, I've been there. I've had all these dumb ideas. I didn't believe in climate change 20 years ago, right? And then all of a sudden the planet heated up. And after you got all the temperature readings, well, who would be stupid enough to be against climate change now? The idea of climate change. Of course it's real, right? But in an ironic way, I'm being punished for having an open mind and evolving because now part of this, I don't know if they call it cancel culture or whatever it is no one was ever allowed to be wrong at any point in their lives. And if you were and you became a better person, doesn't matter, we hate you.
Right.
And it's disqualifying.
Disqualifying.
Yeah.
Is that something what disqualifies you? That's disqualifying. But taking bribes from the people you're supposed to be regulating and fighting against, that's not disqualifying. That's crazy, right? Now, you don't take those bribes.
No corporate PAC money. I'm the guy who came up with the no corporate PAC money pledge. Literally in America, I came up with it. And so, look, there were other wonderful people involved, Shoykot and Zach, but Kyle Kulinski, we were on this call, the four of us. At the time, we were the board of Just Democrats, and we said, we're going to have one litmus test. It's going to be, and I said it should be no corporate PAC money. Everybody agreed. We all great guys, absolutely. The candidates agreed, but you could not become a Just Democrat unless you refuse to take corporate PAC money. One and only litmus test, okay? And so after that, now at the time that we did that, only Beto O'Rourke and a couple other people were not taking corporate PAC money, okay, at the time. Now there's 60 people in Congress that don't take corporate PAC money.
No kidding?
That's right, okay? And
no kidding. Really?
Yes.
How many are Democrats? Do you know?
I think either 59 or 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's at least one Republican.
I think there's one Republican. So now every article says Cenk Uygur has a history of terrible remarks, hateful, sexist, racist, whatever things that they absolutely positively made up, okay, or are referring to something from 20 years ago, right? No, I have a history of fighting like hell to get money out of politics. Like, if you were to say what defines my career over the last 20 years, it would be being a strong progressive fighter and trying to get money out of politics. And no one who's ever watched The Young Turks or seen any part of it would disagree. Like, everyone would agree. But not one article mentioned that. Not one. They're like, no, Cenk, we're not trying to be fair. That's like we try to be fair to Republicans, not to you, not to you. We try to do a character assassination, and we'll lie, and I'll tell you about the lies later, to make that happen. So all these people who are in these clubs and or trying to like crawl up the political ladder in California. Oh, Christy, I know you're going to win. Nancy Pelosi's on your side. Oh, I disqualified Cenk. I disqualified him. Okay, well, I'll see you on election day, okay? And we'll see who's disqualified. They hate democracy. They hate it. It drives them nuts. And to your point, Jimmy, about all those newspaper articles and all the reporters, not one of them gives a damn about what is actually disqualifying, let alone the Democratic groups. They're supposed to care the most, right? My God, if you take corporate PAC money, you take lobbyist money, that should be disqualifying. My opponent took money from United Health, an insurance company, and then she decided she was against Medicare for all. But that is not disqualifying. 45,000 people a year die from not having health insurance. 45,000 people dying, not disqualifying. Who cares? They're real people. You know, one of my volunteers was an older gentleman. He's retired just yesterday in Palmdale to go knock on doors. It was really cold, and he came out. And I said, brother, why are you out here? He said, my wife died because she had internal bleeding, and they made her leave the hospital because they wanted to save costs. So you said you're for Medicare for all. What do I have to do to get you to win? That's a real person, okay? These people are political hacks.
Yes.
We'll see them in the election booth.
Yes, these are the people I enjoy. I welcome their hate.
Yeah,
right?
as FDR would say.
As FDR said.
Yeah.
So they say your comments you made were disqualifying. Again, legal bribes not. The Los Angeles County Democratic Party does not tolerate hate or discrimination against any group or community. Again, they're implying that somehow that's what you do. You have hate or you discriminate, which you don't. Neither of those
Its
things.
truth is on its head.
It's exactly right, Jack. It's upside down and backwards. Instead, we celebrate the democratic values of inclusivity, fairness, diversity, and compassion of and for people of all backgrounds and communities, which is exactly what you do. LA County Democratic Party Chair Mark J. Gonzalez said in a statement, and let me just finish here. Cenk Uygur's shameful comments underscore the fact that he believes the opposite. And as a result, he does not belong in. Okay, so that is just the most unbelievably hyperbolic BS I've heard about the statements. And so I just want to make this point again. So now you did a news show or do a news show for years, I don't know, 20 years now, and that you would do an hour of political news and then you would do an hour of pop culture news, which includes everything and especially every crazy sexual story that's in the news. And then you would talk about it in a very frank manner. And now people are saying that they're taking that stuff out of context. But the thing is that's weird is nobody has a problem with Howard Stern. And to the point that the First Lady went on Howard Stern's show to bash Bernie Sanders, a progressive. Now, if there is a bigger misogynist, right? I mean, I don't, Howard Stern, his claim to fame was that all that stuff, right? That he would have strippers on and he would get lesbians to kiss on air. And that was his whole deal. And it was very, again, if feminists had a problem with anybody, it was him, right?
Well, so Jimmy, 1,000,000,000% right. So look.
But now he's okay because he's in that class, Cenk.
Yeah.
So you're not a millionaire like him. And between them, they're worth $1 billion. And I just want to show you. So she can go on with a guy like Howard Stern. And I'm not condemning Howard Stern. Again, I'm saying that it's a double standard. Okay. Howard Stern could say whatever he wants. His show is funny. Everybody I don't care. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm saying that this is an amazing double standard because if anybody pushes the boundaries of that stuff that they're accusing you of or upset with you about, it would be Howard Stern.
In fact, get a load of this. I mean, they're literally saying this. They're saying, because Cenk was trying to partly copy Howard Stern 20 years ago,
yes,
he is disqualified.
Right.
But when Hillary Clinton goes on the actual Howard Stern show, she is to be celebrated for being frank and honest and having a wonderful conversation where she bashes Bernie Sanders. We really enjoyed that. I mean, Jill Filipovich,
yes,
she said when Joy Reid had old blogs that were problematic, she said, oh, we're just now going to hold that against her? People grow and evolve. How could you hold that against her? She's the first one to jump up now and go, old blogs, Cenk is disqualified. Okay. Oh, isn't that rich?
I forgot.
It's almost as if you have a different agenda, Jill. It's almost as if you have backed every establishment hack in politics, okay, and don't care about the issues at all, and all you care about is attacking progressives while pretending to be a progressive.
And so this highlights how they're pretending to be outraged at the things you said because it's situational. And this is what this proves. And so you can say any thing, the most, any offensive thing in the world that you can think of, you can say, which is Howard Stern has said, and they're okay with it as long as you back their agenda, which this is proof. I just want to play this. It's only a minute long. And this is what they go on to talk about.
Bernie Sanders, and this was a perception I had.
Mm-hmm.
You would say a policy when you were running against him for the nomination.
Right.
And the next day you go, yeah, well, free college for everyone.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you run for a fifth grade class.
Right.
I'll give you free everything.
Chocolate milk for everyone.
And more recess.
More pizza.
And then it makes it look like you're a stick in the mud.
I know. And then when you say, well, wait a minute, where's the money going to come from? Then what a minute, are you against free college? I know.
So I love what Glenn Greenwald said about this. He says, is there anything more inspiring than watching two of the USA's richest people worth more than $1 billion between them mock the idea of free college? It's even more touching because they're both militarists who revere Israel and never ask how their wars will be paid for. So they're asking how are you going to pay for free college? Well, since Trump has been elected, they've given him $131 billion extra dollars to go bomb places. So that would pay for free college and it would end homelessness. Plus, you'd have about $20 billion left over. So the money's there. They just don't want to spend it. And there's a couple of 1% of the 1% sitting around mocking people who want to go to college. And that's okay. And every bad thing Howard Stern ever did, every bad thing he ever did or said is wiped away because now he's in the 1% and he backs their agenda. So it's not really, they don't care about what they say. He even used he said the F word to her face several times. I was like, can you say that to the First Lady's face? Anyway, and so they don't care.
Jimmy, I think that was disqualifying.
That would be disqualifying. So that just, it blew me away at the time that the former First Lady's going on Howard Stern. He's supposed to be a counterculture. He's supposed to be outrageous and shocking to you, which he was for years, and now he's not anymore because he toes the establishment line. But he does swear.
Yeah, by the way, that was one of my favorite things. This happened right after the Trump election. The Democrats got the memo to be more populist, but they can't do it with their policies, right? Their policies are almost all for the leadership, sellouts to all their donors. So they're like, oh, we know we'll be populist by proxy by just cursing every once in a while. Just light curses. So Tom Perez, who's never cursed a day in his life, whether you like that or don't like that as a thing, never cursed. And then he comes out and he's like, God, I don't remember what the quote was, but it was like, golly gee willikers, I'm so damn mad at the Republicans. How did I do? Am I populist enough? No, it's the policies, stupid. It's the policies.
Yeah.
And they never, ever want to talk about the issues. Cenk2020.com.
Well said. So that's my whole problem, and that's why, again, is the differences that we have in tactics and Russiagate and all that stuff. Stuff like this makes it very easy for me to support you in this because it would be a great thumb in the eye to the establishment, right?
Yeah, Jimmy, I just read a comment yesterday. Saying something like, hey, I don't always agree with Cenk. I agree with him on like half the stuff, and I don't agree with him on the other half. So first of all, I immediately disqualified him. I cancel your comment. I cancel it. Okay. Anyway, no, then he went on to say, but he did start the TYT network. Whatever degree of credit he deserves for spawning all these other shows, and they mentioned Jimmy Dore show. And it seemed like they were a fan of yours. And he's like, yeah, you got to give him a little bit of credit for that. You know what? I'll take it, man. I'll take it. Whatever. I've done all these things, whether it's Wolfpack, Just Democrats, TYT, progressive media, and the mainstream media has never given me one scintilla of credit for any of it. So even if you disagree with me on a lot of issues, on important issues, real people know I'm honest. Like you, right? There's no BS here. And I have done things in the world, and some of them haven't been great. Some of them been, most of it is just normal. But some of it, I hope, helped a little bit in the world. And so I appreciate anyone who acknowledges that, no matter how much they disagree with me on any issue.
And so I appreciate you saying that. Let me just say this about how this all went down and was handled, because I talked about it in the first video I made about it, and other people have talked about it. So what Bernie Sanders should have done, and you don't have to say what happened. How it appeared to me was that, again, Bernie Sanders endorsed you, then took it back. And what I would like to see from a progressive side, because, once you start apologizing, you'll never. So what I would like to have seen him do was to say, Cenk Uygur is for Medicare for all. Cenk Uygur is for breaking up the banks. Cenk Uygur is for free college. And if you're for all those things, I want you on my team fighting for me. If Ted Cruz is for Medicare for all, come on, I'm with you. Anybody who's for this progressive agenda, I need allies. We're going to need all of you to help us. And nobody's disqualified. I don't care what you did. If Newt Gingrich wants to help Bernie Sanders pass Medicare for all, you're welcome. And Cenk Uygur is an ally, the biggest progressive ally we've ever had. And he's welcome to help us pass Medicare for all. That's what he should have said. And you know what? Even people who dislike him would have admired him for it. But this goddamn spineless lefty stuff is not attractive to anyone. Even if you're wrong, stand up for something. And so he's constantly doing that. He wouldn't stand up for Tim Canova. He didn't stand up for his own delegate. It's just one capitulation after another. You are not going to capitulate yourself to the presidency. And it would have been a huge victory. And by the way, it was handled so poorly, he got they extended this news cycle on this stupid story by retracting the endorsement. If he would have just let it go, it would have been over with. You're good. It's never stopping. And here's how I'm going to show it's never stopping. So this is what I saw just yesterday. Campaign reporters, please ask Bernie when you get the chance about his apparent tolerance for the occasional anti-Semitic indulgences of his surrogates and campaign staff. It's important. They're literally doing anti-Semitic smears like they did to Jeremy Corbyn against a Jewish guy. And I said, I bet a lot of people thought accusing a Jewish guy of anti-Semitism was too laughable to actually happen. The smears will never stop. In fact, they're just starting. There is no amount of apologies or unendorsements that will ever stop the smears or satisfy your enemies. And just to prove it, Bernie pushes Russiagate to appease them, and as predicted, was quickly hoisted on his own petard by the former Democratic First Lady, Secretary of State, and Democratic presidential nominee who used the same smear on him, saying he's boosted by the Russians. This is just the beginning. So I felt the same way when you founded Justice Democrats and this thing came up and you resigned and I was like, no fight. Yeah, I was right, because here we are again and you have to keep backpedaling and it's just wrong. So, Bernie backpedaled. You're not backpedaling. You're standing up now.
Yeah.
But so what do you say to that?
All right. So a couple things. First of all, there's no backpedal in me. That's why they're so afraid of me. That's why they're throwing the whole kitchen sink at me. They're throwing everything they got at me. And when they probably thought yesterday that they knocked me out, and they're like, oh, the New York Times, LA Times, and CNN have weighed in. They have declared you a bad person. Mm-hmm. So anyway, this race is over. And when I got back up on Twitter and I told them, nope, not interested. All I care about is the issues and the voters. I don't want the endorsements. And guess what? I just raised a ton of money because of your smear job. I wish I could have seen their faces in their campaign headquarters and their Democratic clubs like, what? He got back up? Right? What? Why hasn't he surrendered to the elite yet? No surrender. Sad day for you. If you want surrender, you picked the wrong guy. Jimmy, they picked a fight with a fighter. It's a big mistake. Cenk2020.com. Okay, now to Bernie. Look, no, I don't blame Bernie at all. The forces against him on this issue were overwhelming. And this is really important to know. One is, you shouldn't be worried about the people who gave me an endorsement and then had issues and took it back. You should be worried about the people who never gave me an endorsement in the first place. Okay? So I know who's who. And it actually took a ton of courage for a presidential candidate at the most important time in his campaign to back a guy like me, knowing how much the establishment hates me and would attack me. It took a ton of courage to do that in the first place. And I asked him to take it back because I didn't want it to hurt his campaign. Okay? So I wouldn't hold it against Bernie. But if you're holding it against the system, the ugly system that this is feeding into, I hear you 100% on that. But that's the whole point of my run. They cannot stop me, right? I don't care about their goddamn money. I get it all from the people. I don't care about their consultants. Now I'm not taking any political endorsements. So they have no leverage over me. They're like, because why do other people surrender? Because they have leverage. They say, oh yeah, we're going to take away your money. We're going to take away your backers. We're going to take away all these things. For me, I only have the people. So they can't take that away, and it's driving them crazy. So now it's driving them crazy in the race. Jimmy, old friend, let us whisper of a dream. Okay, imagine me on the floor of the House.
Right.
And they can't stop me. And I put out giant pictures of the amount of money that all the corporate Democrats have taken from every industry. And I go, you know what this is, ladies and gentlemen? This is a bribe. And Nancy Pelosi took it. In fact, Nancy Pelosi's taken over $500 million in bribes. That doesn't make her the leader of our party. It makes her the leader of the elites and the corrupt people that have bought off this party. Now you see why they hate me so much, why they're desperate to say, he's disqualified, whatever you do, not let him in the House. Because if you know what, another thing I'm going to do, Jimmy, regular people can come to the house. They just never do, because who wants to hear BS politicians arguing about, no, my donor, right? Nobody has any interest in that. If I win, I'm going to invite people to the House of Representatives and say, hey, when we give speeches, it's your house. It's not their house, it's your house. Why don't you come in and listen? Oh, they're going to hate that, Jimmy. They're like, oh my God, you're going to have regular people in our club? And then what if we back a donor and they boo us? Goddamn right. That's exactly the point. I'm going to embarrass them about their bribes and their corruption. And so that is why they're fighting me with everything they have.
So I want to highlight the ultimate irony of all this, right, is that your policies, your positions are actually better for women than your opponents.
Oh, yeah. Look, so my opponent is the most standard, bland politician you've ever seen. She makes Hillary Clinton look exciting, okay? So on our website, let's start with Medicare for All, and then I want to get to women's rights because that's so important. So on our website, just to give you a sense of who she is, on healthcare, she says, no, I think that healthcare is a human right. Oh, great, you're for Medicare for All. Everybody's got to get healthcare. No, she's public option, but it gets better. Public option for those who want it. It's like it's like Buttigieg on steroids. Mm-hmm. So if anybody ever said fire insurance for anyone who wants it, you're like, what? No, if my house is on fire, my kids are inside, it's not a question of for those who want it. Get in the goddamn house and save the kids, right? If 45,000 people a year died from burning to death because they didn't have fire insurance, what would people do? They'd lose their minds, right? They'd be like, how could we let them burn to death? We let 45,000 people burn to death every year because they didn't pay into private fire insurance, right? But that's exactly what we do with healthcare. But she turns around and pretends, oh, I'm for healthcare. I'm for healthcare. I mean, I'm going to let you burn to death, but I'm for healthcare, okay? So now when you get to women's rights, it's the same thing. So is she in favor of women's rights? Of course she is. I'm not taking that away from her. She's not like secret agenda to be in favor of men's rights and against women's rights. No, right? But the question is she going to fight for it? Okay, what's the size of the fight, okay, in that person? So, for example, the Ohio recently passed a bill saying if you have a pregnancy that accidentally went in the fallopian tubes, well, obviously it's not tenable. Ohio said you have to take out the zygote and put it into the uterus. Otherwise, we're going to arrest the doctor and the woman for abortion murder. Now, the thing is, even if you believed in that monstrous idea, which I would never countenance, even if it was possible, every doctor in the world says that is absolutely, positively, scientifically impossible. So what you would be doing is imprisoning all of these women and all of these doctors because of your fantasies about science and abortion, etc. Now, regular Democrats go, tut, tut, tut. Go to the floor of the House and say every Republican that does not denounce this right now is a monster, okay, that hates women, hates the idea of freedom. They say, oh, freedom only for guys, but not for women. For women, we're inside your fallopian tubes. We're inside your uterus. They love the idea of big government reaching into your fallopian tubes, okay? Not on our watch. Let's have a vote. Let's have a vote to censure the Ohio Republicans. And Republicans, I dare you to come out and vote with them. I dare you. 70% of the country is pro-choice. And I don't care if it was only 10%. We fight for people who are in trouble. We fight for the disadvantaged. We fight for the powerless. And if you come for women, we all fight back together, okay? You see that fight in anybody in the Democratic Party? No. So if they go after women's rights, if I'm in Congress, God help them, because I'm going to crush them. And they say, oh, Cenk, you can't talk like that. Well, you've been playing patty cakes with Mitch McConnell for 40 years. How the hell is that going? Right? How's your stupid strategy going? They lost 1,000 seats nationwide. It's trying to appease Republicans, right? My idea is we don't appease Republicans, we beat them. And they go, how rude. Okay, then get out the way, yo. Get out the way. Cenk2020.com. They say, oh, well, what if you're in a general election against one of the Republicans in the race in the 25th district? Do you know what I would do to them? One of them was in Congress briefly. He voted with Trump 99% of the time. This district voted for Hillary Clinton by 7 points. But if you have a standard Democrat like my opponent, she'll be like, no, I have to reach out to Republicans. So I don't want to offend Republicans. So I'm not going to fight against Steve Knight. I'm not going to point out all the terrible things that he's done, right? Steve Knight, by the way, 100% against women's rights, okay? Anti-choice in every way imaginable. Oh, but I don't want to alienate people who are pro-life. No, I don't give a damn. You go tell the voters what's real. If you're a woman, you're nuts to vote for the Republicans. They want to take your freedom away. They want to take your freedom away, and I'm not going to let them, okay? And on every issue, whether he supports Trump, that sumbitch, Steve Knight, the Republican in the race, he took money from corporations. I'll give you one example. Aliso Canyon is the biggest gas leak in American history. So that's our district, okay?
Yeah.
And Steve Knight came out. He was a congressman at the time. And said he defended the company rather than the people. The worst gas leak in American history. And why did he defend the company? He said, hey, let's not be unfair to the company. I mean, you guys all have nausea and vomiting and bleeding, and we've done untold damage to the environment, but I'm here to defend the company. You're going to be shocked to find out, Jimmy, that he took money from the parent company.
No.
Oh, I know.
Is that disqualifying?
See, and but not disqualifying according to the press. But seriously, though, think about it for one more second, okay? Will Christie, my Democratic opponent, criticize him for that?
No.
No. But Jimmy, think about why. Because then he would get to say, but you take corporate money too.
Oh, okay.
And on a different environmental issue in our district, they both took money from the same company. Okay. So Christie cannot use that argument. That's why all Democratic leadership unilaterally disarm on the most powerful argument that is on our side, because they are also corrupt and they also take corporate PAC money and lobbyist money. Whereas I get to go in there and kick the living crap out of Steve Knight and any other Republican and say, this guy is the most obviously corrupt son of a bitch you've ever seen. By the way, you know how much he took from Sempra Energy? That was the parent company.
How much?
$5,000. That's all it took.
That's all it takes.
They're so cheap. For $5,000,
Isn't that something?
He sold out all of his voters. That's how cheap these politicians are. You think any establishment Democrats ever going to say that about Republicans? Get the hell out of the way. Let me at them. Cenk2020.com.
Okay, so first of all, what I'd like to do is,
I'm sorry, Jimmy. Can I just? I know. I'm sorry to interrupt. I can't help myself. But on women's rights, it's not just about reproductive issues. Okay, there's also equal wages.
Yeah.
There's also every other issue that affects human beings. Because I don't know if people know this. Women are 51% of the population. So when we talk about Medicare for all, and we talk about people dying without insurance, at least half of those are women, okay? When we talk about higher wages, when we talk about gas leaks, when we talk about every single issue, it affects women more than men. They're a majority of the population, right? But they silo women into a category because that's what corporate Democrats do. They're like, oh, you're African American, so you care only about Black Lives Matter. You only care about criminal justice reform. Why? Because in their minds, black people are criminals. Like, they don't care about Green New Deal. They don't care about Medicare for all because they're just black, and all they care about is this. Latinos, all you care about is immigration. You know, in my district, there was a poll done. You know what Latinos care most about?
No, what?
The environment.
Really?
That's right. And people were like, whoa, why? Wait, isn't it supposed to be just immigration? So women, do you think they just care? Those are massively important issues that we discuss about women's rights, right? But they also care about every other issue because it affects their lives daily. And yet they're siloed into, okay, women, pat on the head, reproductive issues, we're not really going to fight, but we'll say, yeah, we're on your side. Wages, we're not really going to fight, but we'll say we're on your side. So no, I'm going to fight for them on every issue.
Andrew Yang put out a tweet, said, I won't cross the United Hair 11 picket line to attend next week's debate. We must live our values, and there is nothing more core to the Democratic Party than the fight for working people. I support United Hair 11 in their fight for their compensation and benefits they deserve. So it looks like, Tulsi was the first one that said she was going to, but not because of this reason. She thinks the whole process is a sham, which it is. And so now it's Bernie and Elizabeth Warren are considering boycotting this debate for the same reason. So how do you feel about that decision to do that, and where do you stand on unions?
So yeah, none of to be fair, they've all now said they're not going to cross the picket line. Even Biden, and I think Buttigieg was among the last. He's like,
really?
Yeah, sure, yeah, I care about the working guy, right? Donors, do I care about the working guy? Oh, right, we're pretending to care. Yes, that's right. Okay, so yeah, it makes sense not to cross the picket line. Obviously, that's why they're all doing it. It's an easy issue. Yeah. Look, why are unions important? And I'm not going to take union money, and I'll tell you why in a second, okay? Why are unions important? Because you need leverage, okay? If you're one person against a giant company, you got no help at all. You got no hope of ever winning. You're fired next, right? You talk about Amazon all the time. And that example you use always sticks in my head, that they rather put an ambulance by the factory than pay for air conditioning. Mm-hmm. They put the ambulance there because they know that they're going to have to take people to the hospital because of how brutal the working conditions are. But they're like, hey, but we saved like $10. One of the richest companies in the world, $1 trillion. But hey, we're going to save $10 by turning off the air conditioning. Make sure people go to the hospital is less expensive. So who cares about the actual people, right? So unions help you negotiate for higher wages. Collective bargaining makes a big, big difference. Now, why am I not taking union money? Because when I back unions, I want you to know that I did it because I mean it, not because they bribed me or paid me to do it. Whereas the rest of the Democratic Party is like, oh, union money, manna from heaven. I'll take from corporations and I'll take from unions. I'll give unions 10%. I'll give corporations 90% based on how much they gave me, right? Whereas I'll say, no, I'm going to fight corporate power completely, and I'm going to back the unions even if they don't back me. Even if they don't give me money, even if they reject me publicly, because I don't give a damn about the leadership of anything, including unions. And so that's heresy. You can't say that in the Democratic Party. I care about their members. So I care about the teachers. I care about the nurses. I care about the truck drivers. So I'm going to help those people get higher wages no matter what, right? But if their leadership is like, oh, I do declare, I made a backroom deal with Nancy Pelosi. We will be getting 1.5% more. Okay, you do that, brother, and I'll actually fight for your members.
Become a premium member and get hours of bonus material every week. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com/join. Also, come see our live shows. We do live shows all the time. We're going to be in Hawaii. Then we're going to Portland, Tempe, Sacramento, San Jose, Miami. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all the tickets for all of our live shows. See you soon.